Greetings! Once you know this recipe, you'll become addicted to this bread. It's just so delicious! Today we'll be kneading the dough by hand. You can knead the dough well by hand, as long as it's not panettone dough. Do you have a stand mixer? Of course, if you do, always knead the dough in the mixer. 2 eggs, each about 60 grams, 50 grams of sugar, and 250 milliliters of cold milk. The eggs are cold as well. Condensed milk, 40 grams. If you don't have condensed milk but really want to make this bread right now, just replace that amount with regular milk. Condensed milk doesn't serve a technical purpose, it's only for richer, more pronounced milky flavor. 550 grams of premium wheat flour, protein content 12%. This flour is already considered a strong bread flour. Yeast, today I'm using dry yeast. The instructions say to add it directly to the flour. Always read the instructions, no matter how odd that may sound to you. I'll need about 5 grams of it. If you use fresh yeast, add about 10 grams. Why am I emphasizing the protein content in the flour? If you use flour with a protein content of 10.3, which I don't recommend, since that's flour for cookies, pancakes, and fritters, you'll need to use more flour. Not 550, but a full 600. If you use flour with a protein content of 13 or 14, you'll need less flour. Not 550 like I use, but for example, 500. I'm just giving you average values here. I knead the dough for about 7 minutes before adding the fats and salt. You need to knead it thoroughly. 50 grams of butter, 10 grams of salt. Now I'll show you what the dough looks like before adding the fats and salt. I hope you understood about the flour and its protein content. Where is this written? It's where the nutritional value per 100 grams is listed. There it says either protein or proteins, and the amount of it affects the quality of the baked goods. You will never get good bread with a protein content of 10.3. You will get bread. It will taste good to you, but it won't be as it should be, not truly high quality if we're talking about quality. Gradually add the butter, as always, and each time knead the butter in for about 2 minutes. I divided the butter into 3 portions, and I add the last portion together with the salt. I'm using fine sea salt. Sea salt dissolves much better in the dough. It's not extra fine, but it's ground to zero. That's it. I knead for another 4 minutes. Yes, about that long. You really need to knead the dough well for a quality result. And now take a look at what quality dough looks like. You always point out to me, what does it look like? How does it look? What does this dough look like? Here it is. It's soft enough, but at the same time, it doesn't stick to anything. You don't need to oil the surface, and don't add any flour. That's all. It's good dough. That's it. There's a thin film on the surface. It's smooth. The dough surface is perfect. I add a little oil. Everything as always, classic style. Just like the classic way. Grease it and leave it at room temperature for about 40 minutes. Everyone's room temperature is different. My room temperature is 22 degrees, so I leave it for about 40 minutes. The lower the temperature, the longer the fermentation time needed. After 40 minutes, as you can see, the dough, the yeast, I have to say, is extremely powerful. I should have used less of it. I don't like a lot of yeast in the dough. These yeast are very active. It's no wonder they made them osmotolerant. I've used them before. I even promoted these yeast. They made high quality Easter bread with them. After 40 minutes, I'll do a stretch and fold for the dough. Our favorite lamination process. I know you all love doing it. So let's do it. This procedure will improve the dough's structure. Later on, this will affect the quality of the crumb in the finished products. Stretch it well from the center to the edges. Right now we have 2 options. Either leave this dough at room temperature for 40 to 60 minutes until full fermentation, or put it in the fridge for 8 to 10 hours at a temperature of +5 to +7 degrees. The dough is great. I'm just thrilled. It's incredibly pleasant to work with. I always recommend a long cold fermentation. The quality of the dough will amaze you. And if you make overnight dough with cold fermentation, add a little less yeast. Well, I would actually add 4 grams, not 5 or 5.5. For me, it took about 40, maybe 40 to 45 minutes. I didn't leave it overnight. The dough is fully and properly fermented. This is what good quality dough should look like. And now I continue making the bread, but it's always better to leave it overnight. If you leave it overnight, in the morning you take out the cold dough without warming it up. Immediately start dividing it into the portions you need. I don't add any oil. You don't need it for this dough. The bit of oil that was in the bowl is more than enough, both in the bowl and on the surface of the dough. I divide this dough into 6 equal pieces. The dough weighs about 1 kilo 100 grams. So into 6 equal parts. You don't have to do it this way. You can make 2 loaves, buns from this dough, rustic bread, or bread in a loaf pan. Rustic means without a pan. Just as a rule, we bake it on a baking sheet as rustic bread. Be sure to pre-shape each piece that you cut. Let them rest for 10 minutes. This is essential. The pan. Grease it with a little oil, and I also added a bit of parchment paper. The size of the pan is 10 by 25 by 8. And now I add a little oil, because the wooden rolling pin will stick to the dough, or the dough will stick to the rolling pin. So just a little oil on the rolling pin, and then I roll everything out. First with the rolling pin, and then I'll shape it as I need with my hands. It's dough after all, so it spreads very well by hand too. Sometimes when something goes wrong, when there's no understanding of how to work with dough, how all of this works in general, I do come across comments under my videos. Bad recipe. There is no such thing as a bad recipe. It's all very simple here. Liquid, flour, yeast, salt, and that's it. Sometimes there are incorrect proportions of ingredients. Liquid to flour, flour to fat, salt. But a recipe itself can't be good or bad. There are a lot of factors that affect the result. I always try to provide all the necessary information, but I simply can't give all of it. It's a truly huge amount of data in every single video. You understand that too? So please don't say that the recipes are bad. We have different ingredients, you and I. The moisture content of the flour also affects the amount of flour in the recipe, just like the protein content in that flour. I showed you once how I braid it, and now it feels like my hands are yours. But in general, however you twist it, it will look beautiful. In any case, the main thing is not to get confused. And even if you do, it's not a big deal. So we've twisted it. The dough sticks together nicely well. It holds together. Don't add any extra oil and everything will be great. This is how nice little balls turn out. Turn out. Where do they turn out to? Anyway, they're ready. Leave them at the same room temperature so the dough doubles or even triples in size. I always do the final proofing of the products in the oven. I turn on the oven light, and the temperature in my oven is 28 to 30 degrees, never above 30. I turn it on, turn it off, I keep it under control. The main thing is not to overheat, not to let the temperature go above 30 degrees. How important is the temperature regime? We once had an unpleasant situation with one of my followers and his panettone. He put the panettone in the oven for its final proof for 5 hours with the oven light on. Always check the temperature. Just stick your hand in there and check to make sure it's not too hot. Dough doesn't like temperatures above 30 degrees during the final proof. As it turned out later, his oven light actually, 2 lights were giving off either 34 or 36 degrees. As a result, his panettone collapsed even during the final proof. And when he finally turned on the oven to bake, the dough couldn't hold up during baking. The structure was already weak, it was ruined, and his panettones collapsed. For those who will ask what kind of oven it was. So keep an eye on the temperature settings. 28 degrees better to be cooler than hotter. I removed the plastic wrap. It's not needed here. Everything is fine with the oven. This is what we should see before putting the bread in the oven. As grandmothers used to say, don't jump, don't run, don't shout, or the dough will collapse. No drafts allowed. Oh my God! Come on, my dears, seriously. If you kneaded the dough properly, using the right flour and following the technical steps, which is important, and no matter how much you jump around, everything will stay as it is. I took a little milk. This is optional. I just want to brush it on. The oven is already preheated to 175 degrees. Convection mode. I'm setting it for 27 to 30 minutes, 25 to 30. That's it, they're ready. The internal temperature of the finished crumb should be 92 to 94 degrees. If you overbake your buns, they'll turn out like straw. No matter how well you make or knead the dough, if you overbake it in the oven, you'll end up with a poor result. Attention! Right now, the bread is hot and it's still cooking. Don't cut it, don't tear it, don't eat it, don't do anything to it. It's still finishing up. Let it cool completely to room temperature, and only then enjoy it. Because the crumb isn't ready yet, it's still raw inside. The temperature of the crumb won't rise anymore, but it will just stabilize now. It's already been about 2 hours for me. Yes, I'm gonna squeeze it a bit. For anyone whose eye just started twitching because I'm squeezing the bread, this is my bread, I'm squeezing it, and I'm not doing anything terrible to it. You chew it anyway. It's nothing terrible with your own teeth. So I'm showing you what the crumb should look like in quality products. You will never get this kind of crumb with a protein content of 10.3. Oh, the flour! By the way, the flour I used in this video is from Kivlen. It's excellent flour. It's become much better than it used to be, I remember it. My usual flour wasn't available, so I took Kivlen. Super! I'm satisfied. Would I recommend it? Of course, I recommend good flour. This is the kind of crumb texture you get. It's incredibly tasty. You'll get addicted to this bread. You'll want to make it all the time. The dough is pleasant to work with, and everyone at home will keep asking you to make this bread because it's so delicious. It's just, well, you can't go wrong. Someone will write to me, this isn't bread, it's a bun. Well, listen, bread comes in many forms, and not everything is just black and white. So, as always, enjoy your meal.